evolution and transformation, which led us to this manifestation. Miss Aruba Island Queen, MetaLifestyle Magazine.
Hello and welcome to the MetaLifestyle Magazine, the source for enhancing, impacting, and transforming lifestyles. And today we have two amazing presenters that I can't wait to share with you. And but before that, we will be right back with our opening. See you soon. Welcome to the MetaLifestyle Magazine show, the source for enhancing, impacting, and transforming lifestyles. In each episode, we feature authorities and their expertise to help you along on your journey towards spiritual growth, personal awareness, and business and financial success. I'm your host, Karina Felix. Join us as we share our journeys and inspire you to create your lifestyle by design. Hello, 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 and welcome again to the MetaLifestyle Magazine. I'm your host, Karina Felix.
And I'm your co-host, Nandini. Welcome.
So, Nandini, anything special going on?
Oh my God, what a week. If you guys are into astrology, you will hear astrologers talking about the very, very, very powerful energy that we are experiencing right now. I know personally, I have been so exhausted. And this happens to me when there is, really powerful energy going on in the cosmos.
Yes.
This is how I feel it, and I think different people would feel it in different ways, but every avenue that you go to, any astrologer that you talk to, even channelers, people who are channeling mediums and stuff, they will tell you that this week is a very, very powerful week for transformation and manifestation. So if you are working on a dream, if you have a goal, this is the week to actually focus on it, write down exactly what it is you want to achieve, and meditate on it,
and keep it at the forefront. They say you write it down, you put it next to your bed before you go to sleep. That's what you look at. As soon as you wake up, that's what you keep reading it out.
Yes.
Put it where you see it, because whatever's at the forefront, that's what you keep manifesting. So don't just say this is what I want. Don't say this is what I want and then not keep it at the forefront of your mind. But for me, since last week's show, I was so drained and I couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, am I dehydrated? Am I getting sick? I couldn't figure, I just wanted to stay in bed and sleep. And, again, when you're vibrating at a higher level, and, I've been on this journey for a long time. I've been doing a lot of spiritual development for pretty much my whole life. And I'm very in tune with this shift. And they're saying there's so much more energy coming into Earth. And light workers are feeling it a lot more and a lot faster. But I'm gonna have to say, between Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even by Saturday, Sunday, I was just out of it. So I started doing more of my meditation. I started more journaling. I started doing more affirmation, and obviously the manifesting part, and really trying to stay in tune, because I could feel the disconnect and I needed to bring it back together.
The other thing with this particular energy that is happening, pay very particular attention to your dreams, because you will be getting messages, through dreaming, through psychic energy just comes in, so be very aware. Do not dismiss anything. Just listen to the messages and accept the messages as they come through.
So I've told you before, I am a lucid dreamer, and a lucid dreamer is someone who is awake while asleep, if that makes any sense. So I'm very, very aware of my surroundings. I could describe my whole dream from beginning to end. Like if I've woken up and started journaling, and by the time I'm done, I'm 10 pages in. Like I'm going, this is how they create stories like Harry Potter.
Yes.
In your dreams, so much is possible that otherwise is not. But, and I remember everything. And I'm also aware that I'm asleep. So I know I'm sleeping, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, you continue to sleep. I'm going to take care of this dream. But it's the same thing. But even, and it's so funny, because even in my dream, I'm asking my sleeping self questions. Like why is this person in your dream? And then I go through the day and go like, oh, I think I was scrolling through Facebook or something. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then we keep looking at this dream together. It's this whole weird 3-dimensional thing going on while I'm asleep. Of course, you wonder why I can't sleep or why I wake up so tired half of the times. And I'm like, I know I slept.
Yes. You're getting a lot of work done. You're working very hard.
I am working like crazy. And these days even worse. Like I'm getting the messages. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh, now I get it. That makes sense. And especially once I start journaling. And like I said, I did this challenge. It's 30 days, a whole hour of meditation. You just sit there for an hour, because once you pass that 21 minute, things start happening. This is when everything really shuts down. This is when the world, everything outside shuts down, and you really go inward. And then you start seeing the pictures and the images and the messages, and they start to explain. So any question you have, that's when the answers come. And that's when you start really understanding the outer dimension, what's really happening on the other side. And we were talking about this because we are both have our master's degree in metaphysical science from the same college, because that's where we met in Sedona, Arizona. And now we are, and so I just said last week, hey, we got to go get our doctorate. What are you putting it off for? So we are now kind of being each other's accountability partner. And we are working on getting our dissertation. And the fun part is that my dissertation is based on that we are here for our soul's purpose, not for us, the physical ego self, but our physical self, our consciousness, the one that keeps coming back, that the reincarnation of us. And so my dissertation is based on how do we connect with our soul to put us back on the path we are supposed to be on. And this is what I've been going through for the last 2-3 weeks, when I was feeling so disconnected and couldn't figure it out. And I thought, and I went back to look at my notes and went, oh, I strayed off my path. And they're telling me, you've gone too far, you got to come back. So that's why I'm been, again, doing all of my morning routines and my rituals. And Nandini's dissertation goes the next level. and you have to be very open-minded to understand her version, but you go ahead.
Okay, this is where people might just go click and switch off.
No, there are a lot of metaphysicians, a lot of light workers, they get it.
Others may just dive in a bit further, but my dissertation is about our ability to reincarnate, as Karina just said, but not coming back on Earth, actually reincarnating on another planet. We think of the other planets in our galaxy as barren, as not having any life, not capable of supporting any life. But if you think of energy, and if you think of vibration, if you think that maybe there is life there, but on a vibration that we as humans cannot really access, then you can open up your minds to, yes, there are other things in this galaxy that we are not capable of seeing just yet. And if we think of certain planets as having a higher vibration than Earth, then the work that we do here on this planet, on Earth, if we can raise our vibration to a certain level, then it becomes possible for us to reincarnate on another planet. And in doing that, why would we want to do that? We want to do that because Earth is going through its own journey, humans are going through our own journeys, and if we can then reincarnate on a higher vibrational plane, then we can fulfill that role of helping humanity on its journey.
Correct.
So I hope that's not too far out for some of you, but
well, I said I'm here on a dual purpose, which is elevating my energy and my vibration here while on Earth in this physical body. And all of the knowledge, wisdom that I am, taking in right now, this is the only thing we get to carry over with us. So that's the building up of our consciousness and our conscious energy is the only thing we get to take with us. And from the other end, and in our afterlife, then we become the spirit tribe to our tribal family. So when whoever is here taking care of me right now, when they come back, it would be my turn to take care of them, because we all have our own spirit tribes, right? So so that's why I thought this is so great, because I'm just talking about coming back to earth, because the whole point of coming back to earth is to finally, what I say, find heaven on earth, finally bring heaven to earth, where we are finally working in harmony and love and peace, compassion, caring for each other, taking care of nature and the world again. When we can go back to that place of really working together as a community, that's really bringing heaven on earth, right? And then I love that Nandini realized, because also this physical body is very dense, so our soul is very restricted while in this body. But as you elevate consciousness, it becomes lighter and lighter, and that's how they could transform and go into the other dimensions. And you know, this is not it. This is what we call the third dimension. And in the last year or two, we've been moving into the fifth dimension, but it goes higher than that. And the higher you go, the lighter we become, and the more translucent we become. So that's a whole nother story.
I'll just throw one more thing out, and then we'll stop freaking people out. You know, in certain spiritual circles, it is believed that Jesus came from Venus. So if you are interested, you can Google that. So that comes back to the point I was making, that these higher vibrational beings would come to Earth at certain times in our history to help humanity on our journey. So, you know, if you find this interesting, you know, there's so much information on the internet.
There's a lot of information about it.
So you can...
But a lot of that, you know, and again, this is the people who have made a huge impact on this earth. Einstein. If you haven't followed Nikola Tesla, I'm surprised they kept him out of the history books. And they kept him out because this man,
he was so ahead of his time.
We have this. We have phones and TV and lights and refrigeration. It's all his patent, but somehow it got hidden away from history because obviously someone else wanted to make money off of it. But at the end of the day, he came, and I always said, you know what, he is a metaphysician, because he used to work with one of the gurus, the Vivekananda.
Yeah.
And I believe he had already reached that level, but he chose to come back to give us this huge jump into the future, because without that we wouldn't be here. We would still be kind of 50, 100 years behind.
Yeah, and you said the right thing in that, you know, he wanted to gift these things to the world free of charge, and unfortunately he died alone and a pauper. Everything was taken away from him.
I have a different feedback on that.
Okay, that would be interesting to hear.
I think about it. If he is a metaphysician, if he is like the Dalai Lama, who gave up his riches to go live under a tree, why didn't Nikola Tesla do the same thing? He says, I don't need material stuff.
But
he didn't to change the world.
You know, on this paradigm, they did, they did everything. They took everything away from him, and then created ways of profiting from his ideas.
Says, they may have me now, he goes, but the future belongs to me. And guess what? Here we are. The future does belong to him.
Absolutely.
Because his footprint is what jumpstart us. Oh, woof.
Okay, so we'll stop freaking out.
There we go, we're done with that. So today we want to introduce someone very special. Actually, we've known each other for quite a while, on and off. We've been in the same circles for quite some time, and she is joining us today, and that is Debbie Montgomery Johnson. And she has many stories, but one of the most interesting stories, and I'm going to first have you introduce yourself and say hi to the audience.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I haven't been with these ladies in a long time. Very nice to be back.
Yes. And Debbie have written several books, but one of her first book really made an impact in the community and really brought something very important to the forefront that initially no one was paying attention to. And thank goodness that you were able to step up, because we all know there's a place of shame and fear. We stay quiet because we're embarrassed, but by you stepping up, you created a voice for so many other people.
And that's why I did it when I realized that it wasn't just my story. It was so many women's stories, and men also. Many men are, it's a relationship fraud is basically what we're talking about. And it was something that was foreign to me. I'd never heard of it. And this
Right.
was back in 2012, so it's been almost
Yeah.
12, 13 years. And it happened after my husband had passed away. And I was thrown into running his company, which it was interesting that I've recently talked more about the company than I ever did before, because I wasn't involved in Lou's company. And from one day he was alive, the next day he had died suddenly. I was thrown into running his company, taking care of the family, and I was consumed with trying to keep life going. And I did it the best I could by myself. My kids were, I have 4 children. The youngest was 15. He was at home. The older 3 were gone. And so I was working a day job at the elementary school that I was a treasurer for, and I was running the business. So essentially I was working 20 hours a day and exhausted. You're talking about being tired.
Yes.
I was just so exhausted, and the only time that I could really grieve his passing was at night when I got into bed alone and the sheets nothing moved. And I really got quite angry at him for dying, because he died suddenly. There was no anticipation, no preparation. And here is the preparation that I want everyone to know that's married, is if you have life insurance, make sure the premiums are paid. Because Luke canceled his life insurance 2 months before he died. And he died suddenly. We didn't know he was ill. He died of a sudden heart attack. And so he was transitioning from 55 to 56, and his insurance went up from $100 a month to $500 a month. And he goes, I don't want to pay that. We have investments. And I didn't want to have contention, so I just let it go. And then 2 months later he died, no insurance. And he had made such a fit about the insurance premium that when my father said, why don't you call them and see if you can, kind of pay in arrears? I'm like, there's this big red X over our name. There's no way I'm going to do that. And so it probably worked out for the best. Fast forward, after the scam. But it's something that I never want any of my friends to ever experience again, because many of our friends are entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs. Their wives don't run their businesses, or wives can't run their businesses necessarily. And without that cushion, I could have been out of a home and, had a lot of really bad things happen. Bad.
Wow.
So what happened with me, though, is because I was so busy running the company, which I called his company until probably just a few years ago, and I've had it longer than he did, and running a day job at the school, and keeping the family going, and. I had so many things that I got distracted about 6 months after he died, and my friends were like, you need a life. Well, they wanted me to start dating again. I was 52 years old. I really didn't want to start dating again. I didn't know how to start dating again. Really, I'd been married almost 26 years. And so they're like, oh, get into online dating, it's safe. I did a little bit of stalking myself. I went to a faith-based site thinking that would be safe. Wow. And I did it very carefully. I would say now, make sure you have a dating buddy. Have somebody that can help you out, that is a little more objective. Because what I've found over these years, and if you want to know the whole story, this is the book that you were talking about that I wrote back in 2016. And it was the story of how I got involved in an online relationship, but felt it was safe because he wasn't here. Again, I'd been married for so long. I wasn't ready for somebody in person necessarily, but I did want to have a companion.
Yes.
Excuse me, somebody I could talk about the business, someone I could talk about the kids, someone I could talk to about him dying, about Lou dying.
Yes.
Because the gentleman that I was in contact with had lost his wife. He was from England. He was an international businessman, all the fun things that I thought would be great for me.
Right.
But also he wasn't here. He was in the United States and then left and went to do some work over in the Far East. I thought that was pretty exotic, pretty fun. And he, again, being from London, I had friends in London, and we had a lot to talk about. So we did that for 2 years. And people were like, whatever happened? Why didn't he come? It was a roller coaster because he was supposed to come and then he didn't. We had plans to bring his sister and his son over, and at the very end, something happened and they couldn't get here. And so it was this roller coaster of emotions. And again, I got mad at that too.
Right.
But you just have to go with the
Yeah,
flow.
right.
And so I did what I could. And in the meantime, this is where I was too kind, probably, too trusting, is that we started talking about business, about companies. And he would ask me questions. How do you write a business plan? How do you do this? What do you do in your company as far as such and such? So we would be creating these businesses. And because he was working overseas and got involved in customs and tariffs and things that I really didn't have experience in. I had been a paralegal. I had worked for the Air Force and intelligence. I had a really great background, but I didn't know specifically in business what he was doing. When something came up with his company and they had a shipping issue or a tariff issue between Malaysia and India, I had to take his word. I had to trust what he was telling me, that is what was happening. But he also is in financial bind because, as we know many times, you get paid when your job is completed,
Correct.
not prior
Right.
to completing.
Right.
And so there are a lot of asks, but they weren't personal. I mean, I wasn't giving money away to this man. I was investing in his business. We were doing things, and I was always assured, not guaranteed, that I would get paid back. And that was the premise I went on. So
Yep.
fast forward 2 years, and on September 10th, 2012, I get a message from him that, how did he put it? He goes, "How do you feel about forgiveness?" And we'd had very spiritual experiences over the years, and I'm thinking, okay, so I put on my spiritual hat and I started telling him everything I thought about forgiveness, and you put your money where your mouth is, right?
Right.
And about 2 hours in, we got disconnected, and then a little bit later he came back on. What were you talking about? And I reiterated it and paraphrased what I had thought we were talking about in the morning. And I said, "Why are we talking about forgiveness? Have I done something wrong?" And I look back now going, why did I think I had done something wrong?
Right.
But I did. And he goes, "No, I have something to tell you that's going to hurt you." And at that, I'm thinking, oh, you really don't need to do this. I don't need to be hurt again. He said, "Deb, I have a confession to make." And at that moment, I had this gut punch, because I had heard that phrase in my 26 years of marriage once. And it wasn't a good thing. I got over it, but it wasn't good. And so when I heard I have a confession, and I'm thinking, oh no, he said, "Deb, I have to confess to you that I have lied for the last 2 years. This is a scam." And when I heard that, I'm thinking, well, what happened to my Eric and Kenny, which was his son, and Mary, and all these people I'd gotten to know over these years? How could this possibly be a scam? And he goes, "I'm really sorry." And I'm sorry. I said, "I gave you over $1 million over these last 2 years. What's with that?" And people are probably, that's when you hear this vacuum go. I didn't have $1 million to give to him. I came up with it. And this is the thing about relationship frauds, is that when someone has ingratiated themselves into your family, you really start trusting them. And I would do almost anything for my family. I would find the money to help my family. I sold jewelry. I sold investments. I sold whatever, and to help him along. And with the assurance again that I was going to get it back, I got rid of retirement accounts, which I took huge penalties on. You don't think about those things because you're so into it. And here's the thing: there's such victim blame and shame that I've learned over the years. I'm an advocate now with SCARS, which is the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams. We work with victims around the world. And everybody goes through the same feelings that, oh my gosh, how stupid was I? How did I do this? How did I get taken? There's an art and a psychology to this scam. It's called grooming. And if within 2 weeks you've gotten online and all the endorphins are going and you're feeling really great and you're getting these wonderful messages, if you don't see the person within 2 weeks, it's most likely a scam. And as we were talking earlier, a lot of times it's military. There are military pictures. There are international businessmen. There are people on oil rigs. There are some basic things that they use. They could be a doctor working with the UN over somewhere. And over the past few years, with all the wars going on in the Middle East, it's very easy because I'm former military. I wouldn't have been necessarily taken by a military scam. business person, yes, but many women in particular are being taken by the military because there's something that about the uniform and you trust them. I mean, I was active duty Air Force for years. I was married to an Air Force officer. My kids are active duty. There's a feeling of patriotism, and these guys couldn't possibly be lying to me. Well, unfortunately, the scammers do. They create these stories, and they'll come up with, well, you have to pay me. Please send me money so I can get a ticket home.
Right.
Military never needs a ticket home. Okay, there are basic things that the military takes care of, but the scammers know enough. And I don't like to call them scammers because that kind of minimizes what they are. They're organized criminals,
Yes.
and they are making trillions of dollars
Yes.
from unwitting folks around the world, and it's just heart-wrenching because now, in today's world, back in 2010, 2012, it's mostly wire transfers. It transitioned into gaming cards or gift cards, into gift cards. Now it's cryptocurrency, and it's actually called
Yes.
pig butchering, which is kind of an odd name. But
Sorry, what is it called?
Pig butchering.
Oh, pig butchering.
It came out
I
of China
came across that, yes.
because if you think about fattening up the pig,
Yes.
you fatten up the pig for the butcher. And so they call it pig butchering, and it's investment scam. So you don't necessarily go into this thinking that you're going to find someone that you're going to love, but you go in thinking, well, I want to learn how to do cryptocurrency and trading. Well, that all crashed and burned. But it was very interesting how that pulled in the millennials and the folks that have grown up on the internet who think that they're,
That they're
they know
safe.
what to do, that they're safe, they can guide
Yes.
themselves through. And it's been devastating because the young folks now are losing their retirements.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did this guy confess to you that it was a scam? Do you think that he started to genuinely care for you and he just needed to come clean, or was that his modus operandi, like he would get money from somebody and then why do you think that was?
It's interesting because typically they don't confess.
Right.
So I'm with you. The goodness of me wanted to believe that it was because he had developed feelings for me, and that might be true. Dr. McGinnis, Tim McGinnis, could say, Deb, that could have been part of the scam after the fact also.
Right.
But mostly they don't typically confess. And he actually confessed and then came online, and I saw him in person, which for 2 years I said, can we Zoom? Can we do
But
this?
Was the picture, was it the original person? Or
No,
was it
no,
someone
no.
else?
Right.
Those pictures are stolen.
So for
So-
2 years you were speaking to this person and you could never see who you were speaking to?
Back then in 2010, 2012, it was mostly via email. There wasn't much text. We didn't text
Right,
back
we
then.
didn't text
Right.
back then.
It was instant message on Yahoo Chat.
Right.
Right.
And it was like we would talk. When I say talk, we were
Yeah.
typing for
Right.
hours. And we talked about everything from children to business to spouses passing away to you name it.
Yes.
Our plans for the future. And so I kept a journal. I love to write, but back then it was journaling. I have 5 volumes of journal,
Wow.
4,000 pages
Wow.
of evidence, as the FBI called it, but there's nothing I could do about it. Because when he did confess, and that's when I said, now you're lying. I said, prove to me that this is really the truth. He said, I'm going to come on. There's a camera on Yahoo Chat. Who knew that, right? And he walked me through pulling up this camera, and I'm looking at my computer screen, hoping to see my handsome Brit, and up pops this young, dark-haired, dark-eyed, dark-skinned young
From
man
where?
from Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Not once in 2 years did I hear Nigeria. It was
Wow.
London. It was India. It was, working
So
in
he
Malaysia.
spoke with what you would have considered
But
genuine
you're not talking,
British
you're
accent.
texting.
But when I did talk to him on the phone, he had a British accent. Well, so did the
Ah.
Nigerians.
But that makes sense.
Right.
But piggybacking on that story, like I was telling you earlier, I would get, I think it was through Facebook, one of those, hi, how you doing? You're so beautiful. I'd like to get to meet you. And they're also sweet, that sweetness. And you're right, single women are like, oh, okay. So you look at a picture, you go, ooh, cute guy, whatever. And then, of course, but few things went off for me. I said, why does all your pictures look like you're posing for a magazine? Because he had all of these real nice poses. So, my mind, because I'm an overthinker and I would research something to death. I'll go way back. So then I started asking questions, and and of course he has, he's divorced. The wife is here with. Oh no, the wife died, but
They're typically widows.
The child
widowers.
is with a grandparent or something here. And so we're kind of talking, but now I'm getting, because thanks to you, because I know what you went through, so I'm being a little bit cautious. And so finally, I'm like, so take a picture. So his story was, he was I think in Afghanistan, and he was taking care of an orphanage of all these kids, and they had nowhere to go. And I could see where he's trying to get to the point to start asking for money, but I kept asking other questions. And finally, at some point, I said, well, take a picture of your environment. Let me see what it looks like. And he just says, oh, we're not allowed, classified. And I'm like, yeah, no, not really. And then finally I said, well, you have a kid, send me a picture of your kid. Because which parent doesn't have a picture of their kids, right? So it took him a bit, it took a while, 20 minutes, almost half an hour, and boom, the picture shows up. And the picture is filled with watermarks from, obviously, he Googled a cute little child and he sends it to me. I work on the computer all the time. I know what to look for. I Photoshop stuff. And as soon as I saw that, boom, block. So now I'm getting a lot of those weird names, but I would go back and see how far back they've been on that thread and who's liking the pictures. Then I follow the people that's liking the pictures, and just by following them, you're going, oh, these are all people from Nigeria, from Africa, from somewhere else. And you're going, the connection, this is not working.
You've got to be really
Block,
careful.
block, block.
That brings up a really good point too. Those of us that are grandmas, we love to share pictures of grandchildren. Don't do that. Because the scammers can
They're
actually
using
go
it.
in
Go
and they
and
can
take
copy
those
those pictures and
pictures,
make
yes.
profiles of families. And that's
Wow.
really dangerous. And also, we're in women's groups. Be
Right.
really careful what friend requests you accept, because it's going to show as a mutual friend. They only have to get one friend
Right.
that becomes a mutual friend, and now they've infiltrated that women's group. And that's happened to a couple of groups I'm with, one over in Australia, New Zealand, and then here in the States. So they're very clever. They think differently than we do, and they have no heart. Their job, if you think about it, they are the consummate salesman. They have a job. Their job is to get money from you, and they are very good at what they do. The pig butchering scam, the investment scams, don't take as much time, and they don't invest their heart. Whereas the romance, the relationships scams are really, they're heartfelt. And that's the most devastating thing for me as an advocate now, is to see the 65, 77-year-olds who've lost their retirements, who've lost their homes now. They've lost their heart because it's been ripped
so
out from underneath them. And it leads to suicide. And that's
Yes.
really devastating. So we need to keep our ears open for our neighbors and our girlfriends, saying, what are
Right.
they saying? Because especially when you start into online dating, there's still, I think, a little bit of a stigma, not necessarily for the young folks, because that's the only way they're dating now, but the older gals, because if they start getting involved and they might be sending money, they're going to stop talking to you about it. They don't want anybody to know,
Right.
because the scammers will say, don't tell anybody, because they're going to be the naysayers. Don't let anybody know that you're sending. I did that to my own children, to my next door neighbor. When my kids start saying don't, I'm thinking, you're treating me like a 2-year-old. Leave me alone.
Right.
And then I stopped communicating with my kids about what was
Right.
going on. I almost lost one of my best friends because of this.
Yes.
And I have lost friends over the years, because when it came out and I started to talk about it, they didn't understand why I was bringing it up. And it was because of ladies like you. I want you to have heard that story, because the hardest thing I have to deal with is when someone writes to me and said, Deb, thanks so much for telling your story, but I wish I had heard it before.
Before.
Yes.
You know, it
yes.
kind of sounds to me like also abusive relationships, where they try to isolate you from your family and your friends, and try to make themselves the center of your life so they can control it. And then people always say, well, why did you stay, or why did you? They don't understand what happens in abusive relationships. It is very psychological.
You get so drawn in,
It is.
and you don't
And it's
want
also
to think
scary.
badly of them.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and
Because
there's
you are a
some
good
fear.
person.
Absolutely.
And you want to see the good in other people.
Absolutely.
But it's so brave of you, and you've helped so many people by sharing your story, and hopefully with women and men who have not only survived that scam, but hopefully prevented people from falling for this scam. But you have some more books there. Do you want to quickly tell us about
I
them?
have. Sure. Well, I love to write, and I write monthly for a magazine called Positive Tribe. And Candy Parker is part of Women's Prosperity
Right,
Network, and
yes.
Candy does that. So this book is actually like a year or two's worth of my monthly essays, but I love writing for her. This book here, this was the last, well, that's the company one. This is the last one. This was fun because this isn't my story, but there are a lot of me and a lot of my friends inside this. And this is about being fearless. It's standing up and just doing what you want to do. If you love to be if you're physical and you love dancing, but you might consider yourself a little bit overweight, who cares what anybody else says? Be fearless. Do what gives you joy. And that's what this book is about. And there's kind of a fun ending in the back, but it is a gift called Fearless, and I think we all need to have that in us. This is the latest little book, and this is called Your Amazing Itty Bitty. And this is the Women's Prosperity
WPN,
Network group.
yes,
There's
I remember.
15 of us. And this is the first time I actually wrote about the company. And my company, we have a vitamin supplement for diabetics, typically diabetics, people that have neuropathy. And this past year, the vitamin supplement is called benfotiamine. It's a fat-soluble form of vitamin B1. It's been researched, or it's in research now, for Alzheimer's, for slowing down the progression of Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's by researchers is considered diabetes type 3.
Right.
And so I decided to be brave. I owned the company after all, 13 years now. I do call it my own company. But I'm like, you know what? We all have family members that either have diabetes, they have neuropathy, they have something. And it's turning into a generational thing because of the way we cook
Yes.
and the way we eat,
Yes.
overeat. And I want people to understand that it can be changed. We can slow it down. And this is just a marvelous, it was lots of fun to write.
Commercial. Well, thank you so much, Debbie.
Yeah.
We had such a great time. Thank you. This was extremely
Extremely
educational.
informative, yes.
We do have to go to a commercial break right now. So as soon as we come back, yes, that was Debbie. And if you have any questions, we will be adding it to our link on YouTube and Facebook if you need to reach out to Debbie and, find out some more information. I mean, I'm sure there's more people might want some deeper information from you, Debbie. So thank you so much for coming into our show. And we're off to commercial. Thank you so much. Are you a small business owner ready for exponential growth? I am Karina Felix, and I invite you to join the MetaLifestyle Society for exclusive access to a multimedia, marketing, and PR platform that gets you the results you are seeking. Collaborate with other business owners, share expertise, and cross-promote with others to reach a larger audience nationally and internationally. Join the MetaLifestyle Society and become a member.
We are plant blind, oblivious to the plant world that provides the very oxygen we breathe. Our destruction of the natural world is a direct consequence of our plant blindness. If you are part of the shift of living in harmony with the natural world, the music of the plants device is a necessary tool for your business. Learn more at nandimotp.org.
You are watching the MetaLifestyle Magazine Show, the source for enhancing, impacting, and transforming lifestyles with your host, Karina Felix. Log in to MetaLifestyleMagazine.com and get access to articles, stories, and upcoming events to guide you on your journey. You are watching. And we're back, and we will be right. We're actually going to be streaming in Alka Vaswani, who is right now in Texas, but we are logging in. Are we ready for Alka? Go right ahead. Yep, there she is. Hi, Alka.
Hi, so nice to be here today. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad to have you on with us today at the MetaLifestyle Magazine show. And for our viewers and listeners, Alka Vaswani and I were on a 3-week vacation / spiritual retreat trip in India last November, which was an amazing trip. If you ever have a chance to go, you gotta go. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your tour company first, which is Divine Journeys, correct?
Correct. Yes. So I've been doing these trips to India for about 8 years now, and just last year I felt that I needed to go deeper, and this has to be a little bit more of a retreat. So that's the message that I got. So it's been an amazing experience all the 8 years that I've been doing this, because I feel it's all about connecting within yourself. And from now, I'm making it a retreat because I feel that these are sacred sites, sacred s- countries. And I want people, when people go with me on this journey, it's really taking a journey within yourself. And I feel it really connects them to who they are. And my intention for this trip is for people to release what they don't need and connect to themselves and come back, that for them to do their true purpose. It's to find themselves.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
all this trip is all about.
Well, it was definitely, I mean, I think I put a couple of clips there. I don't know if the guys in the back are ready for me to put a few of the clips that we experienced together. We started in Mumbai, right? And then we drove, I'm going to let you say it because I know we went to so many places. At one point I was confused.
Okay.
Where are we now? I'm like, Jaipur,
Okay.
Delhi, where are we? So we started in
Yeah.
Mumbai and then,
Yeah. We started in Mumbai. We had 3 days in Mumbai. Then we went to Jaipur,
Jaipur, yeah.
which is one of my favorite cities in India. We stayed in a beautiful palace. Do you remember?
Yeah, oh my goodness. I
And
mean, I got to take a break. I mean, this is when we went to the orphanage. Remember, we went to the orphanage and the kids were doing all of these. I mean, I was having so much fun with them, and it was just adorable. Remember when we did that, the tour?
yes, it felt so good, and it really filled us with so much love that we received from the children.
That was too funny. So,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What tools, what modalities? You said that you are helping people, the people who join you on these tours, to get back to themselves. How do you achieve that? What modalities do you use? I mean, we've just seen your trip to the orphanage, which I'm sure is very mind-opening and heart-opening for people who are
Yeah.
there. But what other modalities do you use?
So what we did was meditations throughout the trip, and also just connecting to the heart for everyone to be together and sharing what they're going through throughout the trip.
right. So usually,
And
right at the end of the day, we would actually have a sit down and share. What did you get out of the day? How did spirit speak to you? Remember?
yeah, yes. And what I'm doing this time is I'm using different. There's a Sufi saying about connecting to the divine, and I'm actually doing a Sufi dance, having everybody being part of that. So it's really letting go of everything and just connecting to the divine. And with the Sufi dance, is you just go in the circle and you connect with your soul and the divine. It's just a beautiful experience. So it's a very spiritual experience. I'm adding different ways for us to do that. We're also doing we're calling in different light workers that are going to be from India, that are going to be part of my trip also. So it's going to be very, very different.
So so I met Alka. It was just all very coincidental, or as we know, nothing is coincidence. Everything is meant to be. And I again was listening to a Wow Wednesday on WPN, and Birch was on, and I went to see her. For some reason, I went to her website, and there was a trip to India, and India's been on my bucket list like forever. So I, reached out to Birch, and she goes, "Well, you need to speak to the lady that's in charge, which is Alka." And I called Alka, and we talked. I don't know for how long. Like we connected, instant. And at that same time, I hung up, and someone else called me and says, I'm doing a master class, a spiritual master class, and I would like you to be on it. Do you know anyone? And I said, I just spoke to like my soul spiritual partner. Can I ask her? And they said yes. So Alka and I ended up doing a 3-hour master class together. And it was so perfect. It was so in sync. And so that's where we connected even before. And then we didn't really meet in person until we got to India.
Yes.
Right? But you are also a spiritual coach and mentor. And you're also reconnecting with sending your messages out. And what's your message?
My message is really to know who you are, to connect with your divinity, to come back to really knowing your purpose. So everything that I do is really making people realize that this life is all about knowing who you are. And with all my clients, I bring them back because the thing is, the ego is so much in effect in our lives, and to show the difference from the ego and to the higher self, which I call the eternal being. And I really help them connect to their true eternal being, and to help them realize what they're doing, what's stopping them, and what are their subconscious beliefs, and to show their power, because once you know who you are and your power, nothing is going to stop you. And you know, you need to go on. And I personally have been on that journey for the past 10, 15 years. I went through a divorce, and I didn't know who I was, what I was going through, what's coming for me, and I found myself. And now I'm all about helping people to find who they truly are.
Right. Did you listen to us at the beginning of the show?
Yes.
Okay, so you know, because I like told you this morning, I was listening to Neelam this morning, and she's also talking
Yes.
about the upcoming eclipse, and all the energy light that's coming down to Earth.
Yes.
Because we also did that three again. We did a long weekend class together again with our connected with our
Yes.
spiritual, and that was, oh my goodness, that was very transformational for me because of who showed up in my deep transcendental meditation moment that opened a lot of new doors in that dimension for me. But what's your insight in that transformation that's happening now?
So what I feel, we are getting, with the light that's coming in, we're becoming lighter, light bodies, because the first thing we need to do is let go of what's stopping us by releasing the baggage that we're holding. And I feel that once we do that and really connect to the light, you know, March has been amazing. April actually is a very powerful month because this 2023 is the year to do what you're meant to do, to start and really start on your journey as a light worker. And actually, today, thank you for asking me to speak today, because today is a very special day. I don't know if you know that, April 11th, it's a very lucky day, and it's a day to manifest your dreams. This is where, you know, in the astrology, I think the sun is getting closer to Jupiter, and this is a time that anything is possible. Things are happening really quick. So today is a powerful day to get whatever you want, to create what you want and make it happen. So I'm really excited about that, and I feel this year is going to be epic if you allow and get out of your own way. It's going to be epic for
Alka,
you.
this is exactly the message that Karina and I were sharing at the very beginning of the show. But for
Yes.
our viewers and listeners, hearing your message saying that this is a very powerful time, you know, to manifest, how would you advise people? Like somebody may be thinking, okay, it's a good time to manifest, but what do I do? How do I harness this energy? What advice would you give to people?
So what I would say is really feel the feeling, to write down what you want and act as if you're already receiving, feeling the feeling, asking for it and feeling the feeling, being in it and being, raising your vibration. Because when you raise your vibration, it's closer for you to get what is coming to you. So I feel it's very important to ask for what you want, write it down, and feel the feelings, the emotions of how would you feel when you have it.
Is that people don't, and I'm going to say people don't. I'm not going to generalize here. But what I do want to stress is how important, even if you have an idea in your head, write it down. Just that just writing it down, just whether it's just journaling or just making a little note, I call it the transference of energy. It goes from your mind to your body, through your hands, onto your pen, onto paper. And that also helps with stopping that monkey mind from running around doing that crazy stuff it does, where we're constantly doubting ourselves and creating stories that doesn't exist. And the more we keep it in here, the story magnifies. And it's not even true. It's literally an illusion. But once you start writing it, you start to see that illusion. You see where you're going, oh my goodness, what am I crazy? This makes no sense. And so that's part of also your manifestation, because as you are writing, you become clearer and clearer and clearer to what your real goal is and what's the next step. So don't keep stuff in your head. Either find someone to talk to about it. This is why we have a lot of spiritual coaches and mentors out there. We're all spiritual coaches and mentors. If you need to reach out to any one of us, but don't let it keep ruminating there in the back of your head. You have to write it down. Right?
You have to make it manifest. You have to bring it into the physical realm, yes. And that's how you do. That's the first step into bringing it into the material realm, is moving it from your head onto paper. So you're making it more real. But Alka, I do have a question. Just switching back to your role as a tour operator and a tour guide, and going into such a spiritual country as India. India has a lot of spiritual places, and you're taking people there on a spiritual retreat to help them to better connect with their true purpose on this earth. Do you use any of those spiritual places as a means of helping people to do that? I guess my question is there, or are there any places in India that you consider to be so very spiritual and places that people must visit?
Yes, there are. So we went on this trip, we went to Varanasi, which is one of the most spiritual places in India. And the energy there is amazing with the Ganges River. And we did a morning boat ride. And it was so amazing, just the energy. So that's one of the places that I do take my people. And the other one is also, so it depends on the trip, I take them to different places, but the Golden Temple, which is also truly very high vibration. We also went to the Ganesh Temple in Mumbai, which it was a very powerful experience for, I think, everyone that went, and Karina, I think, had a great experience
Oh my
there.
goodness. Are we talking about the Lord Ganesh temple?
Yeah.
Oh my
Ganesh,
goodness.
yes.
When I walked out, because I was the only one for some reason, when we got to the altar and they do the blessing and all, and I'm the only one that got the little dot,
Yeah.
and I don't know what happened. Like when he came, it was this, like we connected, and it was something went through, and I walked out and I burst out crying, and I couldn't stop crying. Remember, I was just crying, and I said, I got the same message that we had that weekend when actually, like I said, Jesus showed up and had a conversation with me.
Yes.
And it was same thing. It was that feeling of, and they're telling me, you're free now. You're free. It's time to, live and say that message. So
Do your
we're
work.
coming to the end of the show, Alka, but I really want you to tell us about your Egypt and India event this year.
Yeah, so we're having our trip in September, and I'm so excited because it's the time of Ganesh festival. So it's all about removing obstacles. The whole it's 10 days of the Ganesh. So we're actually going to we're going to start our journey with that in Bombay. And so it starts on the 16th of September till 30th of September. It's about 2 weeks. And then we are in Egypt. We're doing a trip in February. It's going to be February 2nd to February 14th. February 13th, sorry. So I'm
Maybe that
so
one I can
excited.
make. That one I'll
Yeah,
probably
it's
make.
both trips. Yeah, both trips are going to be so amazing. I have so many things planned for our trips and really to connect to ourselves and to go within. And I feel that everything is divine and all. I'm actually there's a lot of light workers that are going with me because this is time for us to connect, to build our strength together, and to help the planet and to really raise vibration all around the
Yes.
world.
Yes. Well, we have come to the end of the show, and we could talk for the next couple of hours because we just had like two amazing people. Oh, there is me again. Ah! Is there any music?
This is in Jaipur.
This was in Jaipur, right? Of course, I had to perform. But again, I want to say thank you to Debbie Montgomery Johnson for coming and sharing and educating us and being there and available for us that we can reach out to you. Like I said, you'll be able to find out information on our link. And thank you, Alka Vaswani. Anyone want to go to India or Egypt upcoming, you have to take it because it is an amazing transformational journey. Like she said when we left, she goes, the person that's going to India is not going to be the same person coming back. And Alka was right. The people that came back was not the same people that left this country. And that was, I can't even explain any more than that. But anyway, thank you so much for joining the MetaLifestyle Magazine show today. And looking forward to see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for being
Ciao.
here. Have a wonderful
Each week, our guests have a free gift or giveaway for you in appreciation for tuning into our broadcast. Claim your gift at metalifestylemagazine.com/gifts. Thank you for watching the Meta Lifestyle Magazine show, the source for enhancing, impacting, and transforming lifestyles.
Miss Karina's a big dreamer, a metaphysician on a mission of inspiration and transformation, which led her to this manifestation. Miss Aruba, Island Queen, MetaLifestyle Magazine.